Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome to day number 4 of the Unstoppable Service Dog Workshop. I am your host, Caitlin Bird. I am the owner of Caitlin's Animal Training here in the Lehigh Valley of Pennsylvania, as well as the lead trainer for the online coaching program, the Unstoppable Service Dog. So welcome to day number 4. This is an exciting time because now we're talking about everybody's favorite topic when it comes to service dogs, which is training. Now, up until this point, we have been doing a lot about training. We've been talking a lot about it. We've been doing our training challenges, and I love seeing everybody participating in those training challenges in the group. And if you have not already, I would love to see some more posts about the collar cues and the stop pulling games in the group under the thread. So if you haven't already, let's get some more videos out there and so we can see what you guys are practicing, because this is going to be, the more you participate in this live and in these sessions, the more you're going to get out of the workshop. Okay. And it's really good to document where you are now, because 2 months from now in June, when we hold the next workshop, guess what? You're going to be able to have that documented so you can see the progress that you guys have been making together as a team. So there are no downsides to documenting that process. Livia says, hello, looking forward to today's session. Nice to see you, Livia. Hello, Lori. I'm so glad you could make it as well. Great to see you guys here. So we are going to be getting our workbooks, and we are going to be turning to session 4. That's page 7 in the workbook. And it's all about training your service dog, which is really, really exciting. So as we're getting started, if you guys are ready to start working with the trainer and you want to get down to business, get in touch with me over Messenger, and we will schedule a phone call to see if this program is the right step for you. Okay, now as a reminder before we get started, all the videos, they are only available during the workshop and they leave the following Tuesday next week. So if you missed something, if you need to rewatch something, if you want to start practicing some of those training challenges, make sure you do so before all of the videos leave on Tuesday. Okay, so we're going to jump right into common training mistakes for training your service dog. Okay. So the top 4 mistakes when we're getting into this. Well, number 1, yesterday we talked about the 4 people on your team. And do we remember what the 4 people are on your team? Bonus points for people, if you can put that in the chat, for who the 4 people are on your team. Okay, because the number 1, most important, is going to be your trainer. They kind of bring everything else and all the resources together for you. Okay. So top 4 common mistakes on today's is number 1, getting the puppy first, right? Trainer first, not the puppy first, right? Everybody gets puppy fever. They jump right in. They want the cheapest dog. They want a rescue dog. They want to get a dog from whatever background, but especially if you're going to be doing mobility work with this dog, you're taking quite a gamble when you do that, right? So it's better to do this, since this is going to be, you know, a dog that's going to help you live your everyday life for a long-term engagement. It's better to slow down, take your time, fundraise the money that you need in order to take the flight to the breeder to go see the puppies, in order to pay the breeder, because breeders aren't cheap, right? Dogs can cost up to $2,500 typically for a well-bred dog, depending where they're coming from. Okay, so take that time, do that fundraising, and do it right the first time, because many especially first-time owner trainers fail because they don't have that trainer lined up first and they jump in getting that puppy way too quickly. Okay, Lori says, trainer, vet, your doctor, and breeder. Absolutely, those are 4 people for our team members, because it takes a village. It truly takes a village to raise and train a service dog, right? It really takes a village, and you need to have that support structure behind you in order to be successful long term. Okay. Okay, so common mistake number 1, getting the puppy first. Everybody knows about that. Number 2, not choosing a vet and trainer first, right? Because they work hand in hand. And ideally, you and your trainer should click, right? You guys should click and run as much as a well-oiled machine, right? You guys need to be running well and be on the same page and same level. Okay. And there needs to be that trust between you and the trainer. Because in order for someone to really understand what you need and to pick that puppy for you with that breeder, right? You need to click, right? And you need to be able to communicate that with the breeder and have somebody else on your team to throw opinions and ideas back and forth with, right? And the breeder and the trainer also need to be able to agree on a good pup for you and your lifestyle. I know, and I even have to be careful with the trainers you choose, because I know some trainers still kind of new to the service dog thing. And the thing that they think about is they want a smart, quick dog with moderately high energy levels. And that's not what everybody needs, especially first-time owner trainers. That's not what they need, right? The type of dog that kind of trainer is looking for is good for a trainer to train that dog, but it often doesn't work well with families or first-time owner trainers. Right? And you need a dog with a different temperament for that. Okay, so keep that in mind. I've seen a lot of people struggling with the type of dog that was chosen for them because they just didn't have that same type of relationship with their trainer to meet them where they're at for the training. Okay. All right, so mistake number 1, getting to the puppy first. Mistake number 2, not choosing your vet and trainer first, aka not assembling your team. Mistake number 3, how long do we have to train a service dog? Typically, anybody is asked, about 2 years. Why? Because for a lot of dogs, depending on the breed, they take about 2 years to fully mature. Again, depending on the breed, some take longer, some are a lot faster, like the smaller breeds, right? So it may seem like you have all of this time to train your dog and to socialize your dog with the environment and to task train your dog. But really, it's a lot you got to fit in that 2 years. And what I tell my clients is that you got to make that 1% improvement every day. Slow, steady success. Slow, steady success wins the race, right? And people start to panic sometimes around a year old and they haven't done anything yet. Maybe they've just gone to some basic obedience classes and they've started to focus on pet dog training, which is usually the case, that I find a lot of people focusing on pet dog training, sit down, stay. Well, you don't want to nag your dog, right? That's why we have the training challenges here, because your service dog should just know what to do, right? They shouldn't be nagged in order to sit down, stay, leave it, heel, right? And people just keep repeating these things over and over again. And again, like that's the difference between pet dog training from a group class you get locally and real service dog training, because they just need to be doing it naturally. Okay. Yes. Lori says 2 years. Jules says 2 years. Facebook user says 2 years if you're getting a puppy. What about if you get an older dog that already has obedience training? That's a case on by case basis, right? That's on a case by case basis. I would ask if you why are you choosing that dog, right? What is the history of that dog? What kind of obedience training is that, right? Is it where it's competitive? Because that the healing they do in competitive obedience is totally different than a service dog heel, right? You're still going to have to teach them how to do that proper heel. Lori says, and be careful who you listen to, especially if they don't support your choice or do positive reinforcement training. Right. And the thing is, just because it's positive reinforcement doesn't mean an animal can't get frustrated. Just because it's positive reinforcement doesn't mean the animal's finding it reinforcement in the moment. Just because you're using treats doesn't mean you're using positive reinforcement, right? So you want to make sure that you get a good dog trainer that knows what they're doing and has that experience and knows what's best for the dog, right? Because I've seen a lot of positive reinforcement-based trainers and they're crap. And I'm like, are we going to expand on this? Like, are we still luring our dogs to do everything? Right. So, it can be hard. it can be hard to find a good trainer for sure. All right, so we covered top 3 common mistakes. There's a 4th one. So first, as a review, getting the puppy first mistake. Number 2, not choosing a vet and trainer first, right? You need to have that community to help raise that dog. 3, not keeping a progress calendar. Oh, I need to delve into this more. I think we got a little bit off topic. So the progress calendar, I like to break this down into yearly goals, quarterly goals, so every 3 months, right? 3, 6, 9, 12, every 3 months. And monthly goals, and then weekly and daily goals, right? So right now, my goal for Weaver is I want him to be able to heel everywhere. We're healing in a select few places right now. He's doing a fantastic job. Like, I can't believe how well he's doing right now at 8 months of age. And every single day, what we do is we review our healing inside the house, outside the house. And later on during the day, we review it again, get in the car, go to a place that we're doing for a week. So like 7 days worth. Maybe every week we get 7 hours worth of going to a new place, settling in that place, and healing in that place. Right? And that's how we are starting our journey to be able to do this behavior everywhere. Okay. And then mistake number 4 is rushing into task training such as mobility work. If I had $1 for every person I've seen on the internet, have heard talking to me on the phone, who just got a puppy, maybe their dog's 6 months of age, they haven't even finished, they can't even generalize behaviors out in public, and they want the dog to do task training, I wouldn't need to work again. Right? So a lot of people try to rely on their dogs way too soon, way too quickly, way too early. And that can also lead to burnout for your dog, right? Let puppies be puppies. And typically, especially for your medium breed dogs, anything that's 2 years of age or under is still considered a puppy. Okay? Let your puppy be a puppy. Let's do that obedience. Let's get those behaviors generalized. Let's expose him to the world and just let him watch and observe the world and be a dog. Let him get used to how the world works, what functions, what's out there, right? And especially getting into tasks too quickly can cause a lot of issues, especially if you're looking into mobility tasks. I don't care if it's light or heavy mobility, right? If you're rushing into mobility tasks, your dog's physical health can suffer from that, right? So I'm sure you guys here know that you need to wait until your dog's growth plates have closed. Those are the active points in the dog's bones that are still growing because that dog is still growing. And oftentimes in many breeds, they don't fully stop being active until the age of 2. And you need to have a good orthopedic veterinarian on your side so that they can clear your dog, give that dog the x-rays that they need so that they can see those plates of growth on their bones and clear them, say, okay, he stopped growing. Now you can start to do some mobility work and do it the right way, right? You don't be pressing down your dog's spine. You want to do it over their shoulders. You want to make sure they're squared up, they're braced, they're even on their elbows. Because when you apply pressure to that dog's shoulders, if they have bad elbows, it can slip, and that's painful, right? And then you won't be able to use your dog. So it's really important to know what you're doing with the mobility work. Okay. Kara says, I just started doing this. Wish I had started when Apollo was a puppy and not when he was a 2-year-old. Started doing the task training. Not sure. Oh, or the obedience training. Yeah, so typically I like to start somewhere around a year of age, 12 to 16, 18 months, again, kind of depending on the dog, with a lot of tasks. Even for simple stuff like fetching, some dogs can get too playful about it, and then it becomes a game of chase, and then you're struggling with your dog to not be so playful, right? And that's a very young dog thing to do, and you can get stuck in some nasty behavior loops there, especially when you're trying to do a retrieve behavior. Yeah, so someone doing brace on a 1-year-old dog is dangerous. Yeah, usually, unless they've been specifically cleared by their orthopedic veterinarian. Yeah. Jules says, yeah, that's what my vet said to me for my dog Amelia Raven. She's a Rottweiler. Oh, yeah, the progress calendar. Yes. Yes. Yeah, you need to start that progress calendar early, Kira. Absolutely, because it keeps you on track for those years. Okay. All right, so those are our 4 common mistakes. Getting the puppy first, not choosing the veterinarian and the trainer first, because that trainer helps pull you together with the right breeder, the right pup. The right training program gets you in the right mindset, prepares you before the puppy even comes home, right? Not keeping a progress calendar. Remember, we got yearly goals, quarterly goals every 3 months, monthly goals. What do you want to do in that month? Weekly goals and daily goals. What are those goals that you have, right? And of course, last one is rushing into task training, such as mobility or retrieving or anything else, right? Sheila asks, is there an example of the progress calendar in the workbook? So there is not anything in the workbook. I used to give one out earlier, but it's just been so much stuff. It's been too much stuff for me to juggle. So honestly, what you can do, you can just Google online. There's different calendar websites where you can download Excel sheets for yearly calendar or yearly goals, quarterly calendars, monthly, and all that other stuff. And you can get your own system going. So it'll be a little legwork, but everything about training a service dog requires legwork, right? Absolutely. All right. So now let's get on. Now that we've covered our common mistakes, let's cover getting into what should be the first few things that you're supposed to be training your dog in the first place, right? And the first thing I have here is house manners for puppies. Service dogs are pet dogs. We know this, right? Service dogs are not pets. Therefore, they should also be behaving a certain way in your home. And you need to set those expectations very, very early in order to have the easiest time to set those expectations, right? Because obviously if you're getting a rescue dog or a dog that's a little bit older, they already have certain expectations of what it's like, how they should be living in a home, right? So it can take much longer to get an older dog into that type of a routine. Okay, typically I tell my clients, whether it's whatever behavior the dog's been practicing, it usually takes twice as long for that dog to really get into the new routine of a new behavior that you're trying to teach it, right? So the dog's been jumping up on the couch for 10 months, expect 20 months of not being on the couch for the dog to really take to it and learn, oh, I never get on the couch, right? So typically it takes twice as long to fully resolve a behavior. You can get a good start on it early, but to fully resolve it so it doesn't happen takes about twice as much. All right. Okay, so puppy house manners. Since we're starting from scratch, very first thing, right? Potty on cue. Dogs should be learning how to potty on cue. You can do a general go potty like hurry, hurry, or do your duty, or if you wanted to do pineapple, bananas, I don't know, right? You can do whatever it is you want. Typically, I stay away from going potty. I typically don't like to use that for my service dog clients simply because it makes people aware that your dog's going to the bathroom. Whereas if you're saying hurry, 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 people don't know what that means, right? Also, crate training. That should be started with the breeder, especially if you are getting a puppy that's actually been started with puppy culture. Okay. And the crate training, they really should be able to do it in the end, at least up to 4 hours. Okay. They should be able to stay in the crate for up to 4 hours, because after that, it's easier to stay in a crate for a longer period of time. Okay. If you need that longer period of time. Manding. Does anybody know what manding is? My ladies who do education or special ed or have a child with autism, you should be able to tell me this one. Who here knows the definition of manding? Sheila says, years ago, I was going to foster a German Shepherd dog mix, and the rescue told me that if I didn't allow her up on the couch, she would pee all over my house in revenge. Okay. I don't think dogs are revengeful. But there's definitely a behavior history there. Who knows what happened to her? Jules says no idea about the manding. Okay. So the manding is, and I don't know if this is what it means, right? But this is how I always liken it. As an idea to build on demand, right? What is a demand? Demand is I want that now, usually in a rude manner, right? I'm demanding to get something done. I'm demanding to have something. I'm demanding. It's almost, and a lot of the times it come off as rude, right? It's a rude way to ask for something, right? You're demanding it. You want it now. Whereas manding, it's more of a polite way to ask for something. Okay. So rather than demanding something, pointing, grabbing, throwing a fit, trying to get whatever it is and meet your own needs, you are taught how to mand, which oftentimes that might be a nice gentle point, like, hey, over there. For dogs and puppies, how does that translate to dogs? Well, if a dog wants something, we would like to teach them not to be rude and demand. Usually when a puppy wants something like attention, they get rude and they demand and they crawl up on you, right? And they start scratching at your legs, or they jump up at you, or they jump up at your face, right? That's a rude demand. Whereas manding, rather than jumping up, we would like to see them do something else, which typically, if your dog is a puppy culture puppy, that's sitting. Reaver came to me manding. Whenever he needed something, he would sit. He would sit very excitedly and be like, hey, Mom, I need something right now. Now, oftentimes I would have to play the guessing game. Like, okay, do you need water? Do you need to go to the bathroom? Do you want attention? What do you need? Do you want a toy? What's going on? So that's a mand, right? Manding is teaching a dog to politely ask for something that they need, and that is sitting. Okay. And your puppy culture puppy will come with you with that. Okay. Yes. Lori hit it on the head, teaching them to ask politely. Oh, okay. That makes sense, Sheila. Yeah. Yeah. Don't let your dog on the couch, or let your dog on the couch, and dominance and all this other stuff. Yeah. All right. Settling. We covered settling. We all know about settling and how to start to generalize settling from our training challenges the first day. Tie down training, that includes as your settle training, right? Go to your bed, especially if visitors are coming in. That's really important. Exactly. So Sheila, you've taught your dog how to mand. Exactly. Mouthiness. Puppy mouthiness should not be going on, after 5 months. Constant redirection. And after a time, like mouthiness, if it goes on longer than that, becomes really difficult to deal with. And you want to get that done early. You want to get that done early with your pup, so they know that human skin is not acceptable. Apollo struggled to learn manding, but he's a pro now. Yep. Sometimes it takes some time. Yep. And everything's always faster when they're puppies, right? Get into that settle early with those puppies. Boom, it's going to be an easy and quickly generalized behavior. Kong training, very important. So I'm sure you guys have heard Dr. Ian Dunbar say this. Dr. Ian Dunbar says that the number one most useless item you can own for your dog is actually their food bowl. And I happen to agree with him, especially when we're talking about dogs under a year or two of age and dogs that are going to be service dogs. Because when you're giving your dog food out of a food bowl, you are missing out on critical learning opportunities. Obviously, if your dog's not feeling good, feed them however you want, right? But if your dog is in perfect working order, you are missing out on critical learning opportunities that they need to know about the world, right? Reaver's fed everything either from my hand or food toys. He doesn't even own a dog food bowl. We don't own dog food bowls around here. Everything is given by hand or through food toys. Okay. Door greetings. Door greetings are also very important. That goes combined in with go to your bed. Reaver actually was doing really, really well with door greetings when he was a young pup. Now we've let that slide and we are retraining our door greetings for when people come into the house on the door. One of the things that started to worry me is that he started to bark when people would come through the door. And I'm like, oh no, we're not dealing with this, right? So luckily, I've had a couple neighbors come over. I've had a couple friends come over, and I'm able to instruct them. We play walkie-talkie on the phone while I'm training my dog, and I tell them step by step what step they should be taking as I'm training. And Reaver is barking. It's just a little boof now. It's not a bark anymore. It's a little boof, and it's only ever once in a while. The more I do this training, the less he's going to be even doing that little boof. Okay. Sheila says, I have a friend with a pup born on December 5th struggling with puppy biting now. I told her to teach a nose target. Yeah, nose target, everything by hand. Keep the dog very, tie downs are helpful with puppy biting, because if you're playing with your puppy and they start to bite you, you can just walk away and if they hit, they can't get you at the end of that tie down, right? And if you're super consistent and you remove yourself every time they're mouthy, they're going to learn very quickly that play stops when they're mouthy, right? So, and that's usually just down to the person of how consistent they are. Okay. Kong trainings, door greetings, visitors. We touched on visitors. Prevention of separation anxiety. That one is huge, especially for the dogs that are more handler focused. Ideally, your breeder starts on prevention of separation anxiety early on, but when they don't, then you have to really be prepared for that. Okay. Yeah, love this idea. Apollo has done this more after COVID, so I'm totally doing this with people who come over. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and in my program, there's a very specific protocol we use to make our dogs super successful. And it also includes a high rate of reinforcement. But, and then we eventually combine it with going to your bed and staying there. But absolutely. And then, of course, other pets. Oh, this is a big one, right? So when I get people into my program and into the online Unstoppable Service Dog program, usually they have other pets, right? And for me, it's really, really important to let them understand and be educated before they let their puppies start interacting with their other pet dogs or their cats, or I don't know if you have a pet goat, like whatever, right? Whatever animals you have, those interactions need to be carefully monitored and made sure that they don't escalate into super rough play. They can do gentle, easy play, but they can't be exuberant and crazy, right? And there's a very specific way in order to manage that so that you don't get a dog, two, three, four dogs running around in your house, bumping into each other, knocking you over, being absolutely insane, right? So especially in my online program, I do have very strict rules and protocols on how dogs should be acting with each other in the house as well. Okay. Now we're moving on to basic obedience. Now remember, obedience is advanced. When you hear somebody say that, oh, I want to go into this obedience class with my dog for service dog work, and they haven't put in any of the foundation work for settle or for manding or for crate training or how to interact with pets in their house, stop. Stop. Your focus is on the wrong area. Focus on these other things in your house first, because, you know, I mean, it's basic and advanced obedience is totally fine, maybe as a socialization opportunity if your dog can actually focus on you in a class with other dogs, or if they need some kind of distraction work. But that's usually more advanced because you've already put in the foundations and you're able to keep your dog's focus and attention. Right? And I am all for people going to group classes in order to work on dog distractibility, as long as there's enough room in that class for you to stay far enough away and be able to work on that, right? Because most dogs, they can't work very well within 6 feet of each other. Sometimes they need 20 feet in order to just start focusing on their parent, and then they can start inching closer. Right? So as long as the trainer is understanding of that, whichever class you're going to, saying, hey, I'm here training my service dog. We just want to do our own thing around these other dogs. You don't have to worry about us at all. Is that okay if we just come in and have a seat and pay for the class? And I'm sure the trainer's going to be happy about that. Be like, oh, sure, absolutely. One less person I have to train. You just want to stay here and do your own thing, pay for a seat. Perfect. I am okay with this. Right? All right. So a typical obedience class lasts around 6 weeks. Okay. And it typically covers things like come, sit, down from a stand or a sit, 10-second stay, a leave it, and an intro to loose leash walking, because loose leash walking is a complex behavior with many aspects in it. Now, since everyone is here, I wanted to remind you that at the end of this workshop, everything leaves on Tuesday. Workshop ends, videos are leaving midnight on Tuesday. So if you missed a session, if you want to review a session, go start practicing on some of the training challenges, you have until Tuesday, okay? Because everything in the workshop, all the videos are leaving on Tuesday. All right, I'm going to leave up the training challenge thread so that you guys can see your videos and see your progress over time, but all the videos are leaving. Okay. Advanced obedience typically covers a prolonged settle, an automatic leave it, natural loose leash walking, polite greeting, sit down and stay. Okay. And typically it can take up to a year and a half for the dogs to perform all of these behaviors very, very well, and to generalize these behaviors very, very well in all sorts of environments. Okay. Now, this is my favorite part. The following is not required, but it is strongly recommended. Okay. Kara says, I was glad I had my private trainer when I did group classes because she helped me know what was helpful for us and what does not work at the time. Oh, absolutely. And like, that's the thing, right? I've done group classes before. I've participated in group classes, and it's always going to be hit or miss. Like, there's very rarely, if ever, is there going to be one dog and one parent where everything works out exactly as the class plans for it to be. Right? It's very cookie cutter. And like the majority of pet parents and dogs that I work with, they need that customized plan to really get the mileage out of that training and to really get something that's super useful for them. Okay. But yeah, absolutely. That sounds like it was a good system. Whatever they were covering in group also had that private trainer there and was able to help you go and grow. Because there's hands down, like there's no way. Like if you expect to train your service dog just based off of group classes, you are going to fail. That's just how it is. And that I strongly believe that's why so many service dogs and first-time owner trainers don't make it. because that is their expectation. Okay. All right. The following is not required, but it is strongly encouraged. So, how many of you, I know we have a lot of trainers here. We have a lot of people who've been doing dog training for a while. How many of you have heard about the difference in the dog training world between you have a behaviorist, someone who specializes in behavior, and then you have a dog trainer? And they are two totally separate parts. They're totally different, right? You guys all probably believe that. So let me give my perspective on this, right? So they're certified behavior analysts, right? Totally cool, legit, awesome, great. But that's behavior as a whole, with kids, with dogs, with people, with therapists, with blah, 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 whatever, right? They go to school for that. There's individual certifications for that. There are master's degrees in that, right? Now, when it comes to our dogs and training our dogs, training is behavior. However, I find that the way that the dog world separates training, there's nothing to it. There's nothing to training. Really, I come from the zoological world, right? I come from the zoological world where when I was younger, I went to 1 or 2 conferences every single year about behavior, about training, about ethology, about conservation efforts for all sorts of species of animals, right? And training and behavior came as one package. You couldn't train an animal unless you understood the ethology of that animal and the evolutionary history of where that animal came from and their specialties on why, like what niche in the environment they filled, and understanding how to make a functional assessment, how to understand what could be the potential fallout of the different training plans you could possibly implement to change that one behavior. You have all these different choices to choose from, which is going to be the best with the least amount of fallout for this particular animal in this particular situation, right? And I find that dog trainers lack that. Dog trainers are given recipes to follow, and when a certain dog doesn't follow that recipe, they say, oh, you can't train that dog. That's what I find with dog trainers. And they are lacking that behavior aspect. Am I a master's in behavior? No, but I love Dr. Susan Friedman, and I took her LLP course a few years ago. Probably want to take her LLA course now at some point in the future. But they're all very similar. It's learning about behavior, and like she is the person to start talking to about behavior. Shreg Patel's another one. Shreg's another, I don't know if he's a behavior analyst or not. I think he has a master's in something or another, but like I've been following these people for years, right? I have my own degree in integrative animal bio, but again, like I understand science, I understand how to interpret it, and I understand those boring nitty-gritty details that the dog trainers don't want. They just want to get behavior, right? And I really think that there is a huge gap missing between that and the dog world, because in the zoo world, from what I saw, there is no gap. It's all together as one, right? You can't do training and behavior without the other, right? Sheila says some trainers will call themselves behaviorists, or my favorite, behavioralists. No such thing. But they rarely have the formal education necessary, much less the certification. Yeah, absolutely. Or much less, please just at least take Dr. Susan Friedman's course. Like at least take the LLA course. I feel like that would make everybody much better rounded as a trainer. Kira says that was the case when I trained horses. Training and behavior came as one. Jules agrees. Sheila knows Shreg Patel. Robin says Friedman and Patel are awesome. Yes, total nerd out, right? And I can't tell you how many behavior books I've read, like on shaping and capturing and B.F. Skinner and right. So even if you just start to read some of B.F. Skinner's work, I mean, one of my favorite books is Coercion and Its Fallout. That isn't really a dog training book, but it's a behavior book. And I love behavior, right? It's more of a hobby of mine because obviously I don't have a master's in it, right? But I continue to get educated on those topics, which again, I don't see happening a lot of in the dog training world. So with all of that said, right? With all of that said, the following is not required, but strongly encouraged. So understand operant in classical conditioning. Like really understand it. Like start with those college level books, Learning and Behavior by Paul Chance. There is even practice exercise at the end of each chapter, like to help you get your brain moving and do critical thinking, right? There's so little critical thinking done in this world these days that it drives me a little bonkers, right? So ideally somebody should teach this to you. You can go find somewhere in your local community college or do a self-study course from college books. There's even online courses you can take, which I'm sure, you can find a free course on there somewhere to learn from somebody who really knows what they're talking about, right? Also, you need to know dog ethology and subtle body language cues, right? If we're talking about ethology, what is your dog's baseline behavior, right? How do they function in the wild? Obviously, dogs don't have an in the wild. But observe your dog. Observe your dog. Sometimes it's a lot easier to pick out things when we record our dogs doing something and then we go back, view the video, and then we can pick up on the subtle cues of maybe they did something with their ears, maybe they furrowed their brows, maybe they licked their nose, right? Maybe their posture changed. And just spend more time observing your dogs, understanding body language cues, and getting, there's great resources out there for understanding dog behavior and body language as well. Lily Chin actually just came up with this nice little pocket-sized book that I carry around for my clients, especially when I have behavior cases and the people are like clueless on dog body language. And it's really helped me with my clients to get a nice soft introduction into the many different things that body language can mean for your dog, right? Next one, again, not required, but encouraged, which is tracking behavior progress and applied behavior analysis, aka behavior modification, right? So what I tell people and what's a common mantra out in the zoo world is that as soon as you walk in, as soon as that animal can see you, smell you, hear you, you are in a training session, whether you realize it or not. It doesn't matter if you have treats on you or not. It doesn't matter, right? As soon as that animal knows that you're there, you are training. And it's the same with the people that we live with. It's the same with the people that we work with. Every single interaction is either filling their trust account or keeping their trust account the same or removing stuff from their trust account with you, right? So, some people like to have words of affirmations a lot more than, getting a Twinkie or whatever, or donuts that you're bringing out to the office that day, right? Some people prefer the donuts over words of affirmation. Some people hate words of affirmations, but like it when you are super sarcastic, right? Everybody has something different that's going to fill their cup of trust and relatability. Okay. And again, in order to understand that, in order to start learning about it, it all starts with ABA. That's all starts with behavior modification. Again, different words, same thing, right? Now, of course, ethics is a totally different side to that. ABA is just a science. It doesn't cover the ethics, right? How you apply the science, how you apply what you've learned from that knowledge, then that becomes, is it ethical or not, right? I've heard people come in and talk about, oh, we hate ABA therapy for children with autism. I'm like, well, is it really ABA that's the problem? Or is it how people are applying the ABA that's the problem? It's always going to be the latter, right? And people don't understand that it's the problems with how people apply, and it's not the problem with the science. Science is neither good or bad. It's how you start to apply things that it's good or bad, right? Okay, let's see here. I do have that recommended reading list in the it's not the files section anymore. It's now called the, I'm blanking out. It's not the files. Well, maybe it's in the guides. That's what it is. It's in the guides. So you go to the top of the group, see the little tabs at the top of the group that you can scroll through. You want to go to the guides. And I have a recommended reading list in the guides section. You just have to scroll a little bit. Yes. Yes, Lori, guides. Guides. All right, so action items for today. How will you keep track of your dog's progress? Are you currently keeping track of your dog's progress? Do you need to restart? What are your current goals? You can't make progress trackers unless you have goals, right? So what are your goals? Where do you want to be a year from now, a month from now, a week from now, one training session from now? What's realistic? How can we break that down? How are you going to do it? Are you going to go on to the calendars website and start downloading forms and printing them out? Are you going to start your own Instagram profile and documenting the training sessions that you're doing every single day? Right? Like, even if you just do a 30-second training program or a training session, that's a long time for a dog, especially if you're being super good and super precise. You can get a lot more out of a 30-second training program. I mean, especially when you're teaching a new behavior, than if you necessarily do a really, really long one, because those dogs can get tired. They can get bored. They can get frustrated. I'm sure you will too, right? Now, you can certainly, of course, build onto that duration and build your dog's happiness to work with you. But 30 seconds is all it takes every day. Record it, acknowledge it, see where you're at, watch it back, post it, track your progress. So how are you guys going to do that? That's your action item for today, okay? That's your action item. What are you going to do to track your progress? All right. So that is it for our 12 o'clock. Do we have any questions, comments? Anyone want to tell me how they are going to be keeping track of their behavior progress? Don't let me talk to my plain white office wall here, guys. I want to talk to you. And who else is going to commit to posting the collar cues and the no pulling today? Who else is going to commit to that? We have one person with one video who has posted. I don't know why people don't like to post for the no pulling challenge. Jules says she's going to incorporate it into the calendar. Awesome. Lori says training journal. Awesome. Kira says it's in addition to other things, but I'm doing 100 days of training on my social media. That's a good start. That's what, a third of a year? So that's 4 months worth, right? That's about 4 months worth. Margaret says she has a logbook. Christian says, I love videoing each session. Are you going to start Instagram? Or are you just going to keep it on your phone? Because if you're going to start an Instagram, we're going to have to follow you to make sure you follow through, right? Tell us your Instagram handle. All right, guys. Lori says her goal today is to work on collar cues. Awesome. Yes, yes, yes. We would love to see that. At least a 30-second video would be fantastic. All right, guys. Well, I would love to see what you guys practice today in the group. I will be seeing you live again at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the group. And today we are going over generalization of the collar cues and the no pulling game. All right. So thank you guys so much for joining. It'll probably only be about a half an hour long. Of course, Lori, so happy to have you here. That's awesome. All right, guys, thank you so much. I hope you have a great day on this wonderful Thursday, and I will see you again in just about an hour. Bye, guys.